doing. Uh, we all know that we are urbanizing very fast, and naturally India and ASEAN countries will be urbanizing at a much faster rate. And when we look at urbanization and water sector, the two sectors actually are very important for even fulfilling all the SDGs, not only 6 and 11. So we have to look at water and urbanization at a perspective. In Namami Gange, when we started developing this program, we looked at our past experiences, and we developed it like a good integrated river basin management program in which urban areas play a very important role. But the idea was to look at a bigger picture and also go for analyzing what actually lies in the entire basin. But of course, even if you look at the main stream of Ganga, that itself is 2,500 kilometers long, with more than almost 100 towns and cities lying on the banks of it, and more than 4,500 villages along it. So what we did, we tried to create a kind of program, and very briefly I will tell you. You can look at the program into four verticals. One, of course, is the pollution abatement part, which we are going to discuss more in detail today. But pollution abatement is not only for the industry, solid waste, and then even agricultural pollution. All those things are there as part of the Namami. Today, perhaps we will focus upon sewage part or the municipal wastewater part. Apart from that, there is a whole lot of interventions on the environmental upgradation, flow, and ecological improvement, and all that e-flow you have mentioned. But there are so many other things, biodiversity, other things we are doing, wetlands, biodiversity. Then there is a whole lot of things about improving people river connect, because see, often you take the example of Delhi, somehow the connect is not so much there, but we have been actually lucky on the bank of Ganga. The cities are actually, people are still very much connected, but that connection has to be more healthy and has to be more for the protection of the water and the ecology. So riverfront improvement, public outreach. And then we have actually a lot of action on the research, developing certain data about all these things, certain policies, etc. Now coming to sewerage sector, because time is short. See, when we started, we had something like 28 projects running at the time of Namami Gange, and with a kind of 450, 460 MLD treatment capacity to be created. Now we have taken up 152 projects now with something 1,800, 2,800 and plus MLD capacity. On the bank of River Ganga, something like 1,000 MLD has been added in this like last 4 or 5 years. Now, what has happened? Often the problem is, like you have been also deliberating. The problem is the population grows so much. We have so much of untreated waste going into the rivers. Unless we start very aggressively working and adding the capacity, perhaps we won't be able to catch up the gap. So what we did, we looked at a kind of 2035 demand, and then we started sanctioning projects, etc. got really expedited. Our sanction process, etc. also were rationalized. NMCG was given a lot more decentralization, lot of autonomy, so we could really sanction a large number of projects, as you can see from the data. But at the same time, we also realize that we should not leave what has been sanctioned or what has been created under earlier programs, maybe Ganga Action Plan or JNURM. One thing I will tell you, when we are looking at the city, our approach was to look at the city holistically and look at whatever capacity is existing. We are not only looking at the Namami Gange assets, we are looking at something which has been done in JNURM, something which has been done under the GAP program or Yamuna Action Plan or whatever program, or Amrit assets are anyway new assets. There is not much problem with them because they are still under construction or they have been recently added. But we are looking at all these things put together because ultimately city has to treat all its waste. So otherwise river will keep on getting polluted. So keeping that thing in mind, and we realized that the previous assets, lots of operation and maintenance was one of the major problem, which was also came up in the previous conversation. So we started a kind of thinking that the projects should have 10 to 15 years of O&M in their project cost itself. So I think the person who is constructing will also be looking at O&M. He will be more responsible. And thereafter, actually, sometime in 2016, and actually it started from 2017, we deliberated, and our motivation was little different. We were not going for PPP because we did not have money at that time. Government has actually been very strongly backing this program. But we actually went for PPP basically to improve performance, because the cities will do it, but ultimately the test is if the treated water only goes into the river, then we have done well. So we brought PPP through a hybrid annuity mode, this thing. And as you have seen, not much PPP has been done in the West. So we took that risk. Many people said perhaps you will not get response. And some of the points which was coming from Tara is also right, because unless you do something for the risk, unless you actually mitigate the risk of the private player, they won't come. So when we designed PPP, we also analyze what is happening in the road sector PPP, and then looking at that sector plus our sector, we actually tried to uh, our PPP model is basically 40% we pay during construction, 40% of the capital cost, and 60% is paid in the 15-year annual annuity. So the capex 60% is in the annuity, plus he will also be getting extra payment for operation and maintenance of that period. So that is the kind of model. And we built in a payment security mechanism, because that's important. Payment security mechanism. So what we are doing during construction, two construction milestone payment we are putting in an escrow account. And when the O&M phase will start, 2-year annuity payment we are putting in the escrow account. And it's very important because people are responding to our PPP, because actually NMCG, being a government of India organization, is backing it up and taking the risk. I mean, we also signed that agreement, so we are also a party. And that actually brought a lot of confidence among private players, even if the conditions have not been very good in the market last 2-3 years, but still we got good response, because we actually built up in the design of our PP some of these things. And it's also a little different from the road sector, because that kind of reference is not there on the toll tax and all that. It's primarily more or less supported by the budget. Of course, we have certain provision of power generation. Any power plant of more than 40 MLD, we are saying that the plant should be such that STP should generate power. And that has been happening in some of the good places. Interest risk is covered, almost entire interest risk we are covering in this. And then I told you about the payment security mechanism. We also had to do a lot of market consultation, because this was a new thing. So almost 4 or 5 rounds of market consultations happened, and then the PPP also evolved over a period of time. I am very happy to tell you at this point of time, we have 29 projects in 18 packages going on under hybrid annuity. Total projects under hybrid annuity under Namami Ganga is exceeding 10,000 crore now. So in the sewerage sector, we have taken up projects of 23,000 crore, all put together. Out of which 7,000 crore is the kind of backlog carry forward from the previous programs which came into Namami Ganga. We didn't simply quest that old things are over and we will start afresh. So we took up all those things. So roughly, if you remove that, a major part is under hybrid annuity now in our this thing. 5 packages: Haridwar, Varanasi, Mathura, Kanpur, and Prayagraj. Already execution is going on. Haridwar project is already completed under hybrid annuity. So one project we have completed. Varanasi project, Ramna project is also nearing completion. 85-90% work is over. Apart from that, we have got large number of places where we have signed agreements. LO has been issued. And at present, 7 projects are under tendering. So that perhaps will be of interest. Mirzapur, Gazipur, Farrukhabad, Bareilly, Meerut, Agra, Hooghly, Chunsura, and Bardhaman, Durgapur, Asansol. These are all now coming up. Another thing I would like to started with hybrid annuity. We, after few months or after roughly about a year of execution, we actually tried to look at what's happening in the city and why can't we actually move towards city-wide contract, a kind of integration in the sewerage sector. So what happened, I will tell you the example of Kanpur. So Kanpur, we have got 350 MLD generation. We already had 370 MLD capacity even in 2015, but still 20 nalas, 20 drains were carrying sewage into the. So we rationalized the whole thing. We looked at all the old STPs constructed under JNURM and other schemes. And then we have actually now consolidated. We have diverted some of these sewage into the underutilized STPs. So now actually you may be knowing about the Sisamo 140 MLD has gone into 2 STPs, Bingama and Jajmau. So we rationalized the whole city sewerage infrastructure. We looked at some gap is still existing in Pankha, and then we actually gave hybrid annuity mode to a contract, to a city-wide contract. Not only city-wide, because it includes even Unnao and Suklaganj, two small townships near Kanpur. All put together, a contract has been given to rehabilitate Jajmo STP, which is not in good condition. to operate and maintain all the STPs and construct 30 MLD STP at Pankha. So I think this is the kind of integration we are trying to do, a kind of new approach to really integrate things. Even in Mathura also, everything is under one city on operator concept, and that also has a huge thing on reuse. Several bidders have participated in our tenders, but I agree with what Tara was saying that in this sector, perhaps more and more people have to come. We try to bring in more people because its PPP contracts are more investor oriented. So I think with a good combination of investor, provider and technology people, certain conditions have been relaxed in such a way that more people join. So that's still in process, and we are trying to evolve and bring more and more player into this. So at this point of time, we have got lots of people. VATech is there, HNB is there, Triveni is working with us, Adani, Sapurji Palanji is working in Kanpur, SMS Infra, Swachh, so many things. I will not. The METMS Infracon has completed Rishikesh project. In fact, Rishikesh and Hardwar project got completed during COVID time and very recently. Another new thing which we have added in recently World Bank sanctioned Ganga 2. So in that we have one innovative feature of IBRD guarantee in this project. So 3 new projects will be taken up under World Bank funding, Agra, Meerut and Saharanpur, where this IBRD guarantee will be there. This is first time again coming up in the wastewater sector, and they will be actually guaranteeing O&M period. The World Bank will be guaranteeing the payment to the concessionaire or to the bank during O&M period. And so again, it's a long-term guarantee, 15-year kind of guarantee will be there. This will also help us. Like I told you that we have to keep O&M payment for 2 years we are keeping in the escrow account. With this guarantee, we will be required to put only 2-quarter O&M in the escrow account because World Bank guarantee is also there. So this is again a new innovation for the new set of projects which we are trying to bring it. Very briefly, I will comment upon the COVID scenario, what we did, and then I will talk about some of the future priorities. COVID, actually, as you know, we tried to get in touch with all the state partners, and then O&M of STP was ensured without any kind of break. So all these operators, whether it is HAM or all our operators, we got in touch, and O&M, STPs, everything continued. In fact, we were analyzing it almost on a daily basis, especially in April and May, and the capacity utilization actually improved during this period. I mean, because there was much more focused attention and monitoring was very, very tight. So solid waste was not going to the river. STPs functioned actually better. And as I told you, Hardwar and Rishikesh, we added new STPs during this period. So overall, our STP performance during COVID period actually improved. Of course, I will tell you, there was some sort of problem, but most of our listeners, we had given them guidelines, we had VC with them. So actually they provided good facilities, safety, etc. to the workers. So actually some of the sites workers did not migrate. I mean, we were really happy to see that. And even if some people went away, most of them have come back. So what is going on? I will not, we also told them to work out a kind of recovery plan because see, anyway, some loss of mandates will be there. So recovery plan, so we are not simply giving extension of contract mechanically that 1 year, 2 year because of COVID. So we are analyzing, but that's putting some pressure on the concessionaire also to actually do some recovery, whatever is possible, instead of simply blindly adding 1 year into every project. That won't be the right thing. So that work has happened. Very quickly telling you some of the new projects I told you, Agra 170 plus MLD is there, Meerut is there, Saharanpur is there. These 3 projects will be coming under the World Bank's Ganga 2. There is a lot of discussion already has taken place on the reuse of treated wastewater. That's again a very, very important area. And then we have been actually promoting it through our projects and also through policies. See, in Mathura, we are having a project and something which you were showing the kind of model where the EPC contractor's responsibility and local authorities' responsibility. So here we have a tie-up, we have an MOU with Indian Oil Corporation and Mathura Refinery. So 20 MLD of tertiary treatment TTP is being constructed for giving this 20 MLD treated wastewater to the Mathura Refinery. They are funding the O&M cost of the TTP and 75% of the capital cost. So also spend 25% to construct TTP. The idea was to promote these kind of models and then actually create some model and examples. It's working out well, and then they are also paying for the O&M and 75% of the capital cost. See, Yamuna and Mathura is already a kind of precarious situation. So at least we are saving that much of fresh water from Yamuna. And then this is going. And then there is kind of financial model also which developed. We are very closely working with Power Ministry because as you are doing as per their tariff policy of 2016, supposed to actually take treated wastewater for the thermal plants within 50 kilometers. So very high level meetings at the minister level also has taken place. There are a lot of practical issues in this about transportation, distance, etc. So we are actually trying to work out details about this, all these things. Agriculture is one of the major area where this is being used, already being used. I told you about 82 MLD Hardwar new plants have come. So a state government is actually constructing a kind of channel to take this water to the irrigation field. So that is there. We are actually trying to now work out as a kind of national framework because various state governments have policy. Bihar also has agreed to use it for agriculture, but unless there is a kind of overall framework, perhaps it will not really get scaled up. So we are trying to work out that with the help of other ministries, other stakeholders under India EU Water Partnership. That forum we are using to develop a kind of national framework. Very quickly, another area which got little bit mentioned in the previous session with Tara, we also realize, having worked so much on city and river, we are looking together. We realize that sewerage network, house service connection is perhaps the ideal situation, but it does not happen so easily. And then people are used to septic tanks, and then perhaps we have to also look at as a kind of combination. There's a lot of debate about centralized, decentralized, the sewage treatment or fecal sludge management. So we are actually trying to look at very seriously for last 1.5 years about the septic management also. We have got an MOU with CSE, Center for Science and Environment, and also working with ASCII and other institutions. We also review now, thanks to the order of Honorable NGT, we review other states also, other than Ganga Basin, because there is a central monitoring committee and we have been told to review with them. And there is a lot of improvement happening. So basically what we are looking at, we can have a kind of a standalone fecal sludge and septage treatment plant. And at the same time, there is enough potential, there is a tremendous potential of co-treatment of fecal sludge in the existing STPs. As all of us know, the STPs have a lot of unutilized capacity. Most of the STPs have 30-40% unutilized capacity. So we are trying to identify and assess these STPs. We will have to analyze them properly so that we look what are going to be there for the co-treatment. All the new projects which we have sanctioned, we are actually taking provision for co-treatment. Because what will happen, our perspective is naturally ecological and then to see that the pollution does not get into the rivers. So I think we are actually trying to help into this co-treatment this thing. Because till the whole house service connection is there, till everything is there, we are actually looking at this as one of the work, and several of our projects this has started. Orissa has done quite a lot of work, but not only Orissa. If you look at South Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, there is huge contribution in co-treatment. Co-treatment side, they are doing a lot of work. So we are in touch with some of these best practices, the states, and then we are trying to make them present to the other states. So that kind of exchange program, etc., we have started. To end, our aim should be integrated urban water management. And then we are trying to bring integration in the sewerage sector. We are now trying to bring septage also into that. But ultimately, the water management, urban water management will also look at the water supply and then the overall thing. Unfortunately, we do not give so much of importance to wastewater management. Drinking water gets priority. But we must realize unless you improve the source, both in terms of quality and quantity of water, drinking water supply also won't be very feasible. And that is the reason Jal Jeevan Mission is actually giving a lot of importance for the source credibility, so source sustainability. So I think all these things will be very important. Niti Aayog has also looked into our hybrid annuity model. There has been a lot of debate, lot of discussion, and they have also recommended some with minor modifications that this is something which should be looked at by the different state agencies. So that has happened very recently. Hopefully, we are also getting response from some of the states. They are looking at our concession agreement, etc. So I think what the challenge of creating market for the wastewater will start with this kind of during construction to bring in hybrid annuity or PPP, any other model of PPP, and look at treatment, reuse of the treated wastewater, and not only treated wastewater, sludge, everything can be all the byproducts, how we can really reuse them, how technology can help us, what kind of business models will help us. So all these things will be very useful. And ultimately, we will have to keep in mind that water, river, all these things have to get integrated or mainstreamed into the urban planning process, because we will keep on urbanizing, peri-urban area will come. Some places you have to work with an FSSTP, some places you will have to do co-treatment, somewhere you will have to tap the drain and bring it to the STP. So I think the city has to look at a kind of integrated plan for wastewater management and other waste management. Look at how they are going to improve, augment the water supply in the river, in the city, how they can catch rainwater, how they can really augment the wetlands in the urban area. I think this kind of holistic picture has to emerge to really improve things, and our vision of bringing Labral Ganga will be really helped if we look at an integrated urban water management kind of scenario. So once again, I thank you.